everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Oh boy. I'm excited today, Alex and Brad. I am very excited today because here on the Nextlander podcast, this very show, we got to welcome in what might be our first big hardware launch. We get to cover. We're a real games podcast.
Are you going to do the play date like that?
I am going to do the play date like that, actually.
Oh, man.
Well,
I like the play date. It's a cute little device, but it's not a major big 3 hardware release.
I suppose. I
have the play date, and I don't even think I downloaded my next season yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've got to boot that thing up, yeah. It's probably dead. I mean, listen, play date's neat, and I want to tinker with it, but...
it's a nice little confection. It's not the same thing.
It's great.
Okay, how about this? I'll even amend my statement. Our first big hardware follow-up launch.
Okay.
I am talking about the PlayStation VR2. The sequel to the PlayStation VR.
Yes, the PlayStation virtual reality.
That's right.
The second.
It's a new reality here for PlayStation VR. We're going to get into that in a little bit, along with some games like a Dragon Ishin, Deliver Us Mars, Blanc. Maybe you've heard of it. First, let's just check in around the table here. Brad, I know you've been deep in the VR, and we're going to talk about that in the game section, but anything else on the outside going on?
The house almost blew away last night.
Pretty windy.
The weather's getting weird out here. I mean, it was shaking the windows. It was a good way to see how terrible the insulation in this apartment is, because anywhere there were drapes around seams in the house, they were blowing with the doors and windows closed.
Oh man, that's pretty weird. That's just ghosts.
Yeah.
That's how you know you have a ghost.
Yeah, I saw a tree fell across the Bay Bridge over by Treasure Island.
Wow.
Yes.
Whoa. I didn't see that. I've never seen wind or felt wind like that here in 20 years.
There's a tree close enough to the Bay Bridge?
Then on the Treasure Island part, because remember, there's that middle section where it goes through Treasure Island. So one fell across the bridge. And then now I guess they're talking like in the hills and mountains of like SoCal, there's a blizzard warning.
What?
Okay.
In Ventura County.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do they get snow?
What if that blows north?
I don't think that's how those winds work, but I mean, at this point, anything's possible. I feel like
you're not wrong, but you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with it. What if it's in San Francisco?
What if?
Gotta get your snowboard out.
I've said it many times. Setting aside any risk of human injury, property damage, all the actual bad things that would happen if it snowed here, I would love to see the calamity.
You're all about that mess, is what you're saying.
If it snowed, and especially if there was like freezing rain, again, like I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want people to wreck their cars.
Of course.
But it would just like paralyze the city.
Oh yeah,
people would have no idea what to do.
Like people make fun of like parts of the South when they get snow and how their infrastructure isn't really built for it, and I think that sucks too. But like, people absolutely would not understand the degree of unpreparedness any part of coastal California would have for that kind of thing.
Do you think California, or specifically San Francisco City, the city of San Francisco, has a salt truck? Like there's a contingency plan that is like, listen,
there's a guy.
Yeah, like we've been paying for this for 50 years.
Unfortunately, he lives on Treasure Island and cannot get into the city.
Like, do they have chains that they could put on their trucks or something somewhere that's like, why do we pay for these every year? And it's like, the year we stop is the year we're going to get ice.
You don't need it until you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on how stuff went in Texas a winter or two ago, I'm just going to assume the worst.
I've always said it. Texas and San Francisco are basically like separated family. Like they're the same cities.
Yeah,
well, one's a state. I get it.
Yeah. I think assuming it doesn't also snow there, I mean, you could bring a bunch of those trucks in from like Tahoe, where it does snow regularly.
True.
Or, on Southern California side, like Mammoth. But
that's a drive, though.
Yeah, that's a drive. That's hours.
Frankly, though, if San Francisco gets snow, I'm just going to assume that Tahoe is buried under like 12 feet at that point.
That seems likely is the thing.
I don't know. San Francisco's got like its own microclimate. Weird. It could snow in a part of San Francisco and not in another part. Like San Francisco's so dang weird.
Yeah.
Yes. Eight blocks over, it would be.
Yeah.
Nob Hill is snowed in. The rest of the city, not so much.
I went for a walk a couple weeks ago. It had like walking down a street where like I was right on the dividing line, where to the right it was super cloudy and had just poured rain, and to the left it was dry and completely clear sunny skies. It was fucking surreal.
I've always said it. San Francisco is a budget Nintendo 64 platformer. It's just foggy, and there are just weird microclimates where you're just like, this is the lava level. Run 20 feet, this is the snow level.
Yes, we only have enough memory for this level to be about 8 blocks in diameter.
Yeah. Why are these all hills and not stairs? That's because the stairs are tough to render. We're just going to make everything kind of big rolling hills here. Well, I'm glad you didn't blow away. Maybe you were blown away by PlayStation VR.
There we go.
Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
We've got a lot of VR to get through here. Now, let's talk about PlayStation VR. I have a bit of a preamble because I feel like we did this once before during our first round of VR, which was like, hey, this stuff seems very promising. Hey, this is all cool. And I'm going to stand by it, and I still think it was very cool. But you guys, we all went together to go check out the Oculus booth somewhere at E3 maybe, where they took us into those demos and they'd like toss a ball back and forth between two people. And like, I think it was Oculus at the time. And then we went to the Vive demos, and they put you in like the underwater thing with the whale that's going around. And all that stuff was like, this could be something. And how long ago was that? Maybe 6-7 years? 5 years?
I think it's been about 7 since there was like good shipping consumer VR hardware.
Okay.
Of course, I also had my experience of meeting John Carmack and trying his headset that had a literal, like that. This has resurfaced. I think Digital Foundry put a clip of this.
I saw the video, yeah,
in their review. Wearing that headset he had that had literal duct tape all over it.
It's like the Labo headset, but for real.
Just as slapped together as possible, playing like some custom build of Doom 3 he had brought.
So we have been through enough VR for John Carmack to kind of get bored of VR and move on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's now left Facebook and is on to other things. So my preamble is, hey, I'm pretty excited about this PlayStation VR 2. That being said, I also recognize there has been a lot of movement in the VR space. So as we go through this stuff, I know that the PlayStation VR 2 isn't doing anything necessarily novel. It's more kind of catching up and being on par with where current VR is. And I'm kind of excited, but also I temper that. I can still remember, even with my terrible memory, how excited I was about the potential of VR that kind of never went as far as I thought it would go the first time through. And it's really going to come down to what commitment we get from Sony and third parties for this thing. Now, that all being said, it's a long preamble. Brad, tell me about your experience with the PlayStation VR 2.
I would say meets to exceeds expectations.
Great. Thumbs up. I'm super excited. I'm waiting for the truck to come.
Where we're at with that thing. It's $550. It's $600 if you get the game.
Yeah.
Because there is one new exclusive game from Sony launching with this thing. And there is one indie game called The Light Brigade, which I believe is the other exclusive game.
Aloy's Playroom.
Yes, indeed. Everything else that's coming out on this thing has been out on PC or is also launching on PC. So not a ton of exclusive software. Do you remember me being kind of dismissive about Horizon Call of the Mountain a few months ago and going like, I bet that's like a theme park ride.
Sure. I was with you, yeah.
Guided tech demo. Here are the features of your new headset. It's 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
It is super not that. It is a game. It's a game-ass game.
Okay.
And it's cool. I'm pretty into it. If you have a fear of heights, I'm curious to hear how it's going to go for you.
I have a severe fear of heights. Some might call it a phobia.
There's a lot of climbing in Horizon.
Yeah.
They put a lot of climbing in this Horizon.
It was funny when you were doing the, if anybody missed it, Brad took us on a tour of some of the PlayStation VR 2 stuff on Monday. That archive should be up. But you were climbing around, and I think I said, like, hey, you should look down. You were like, I hadn't done that before.
That's nothing. I missed my first jump this morning.
Oh, does it black out the screen?
Straight up missed and fell into the river below, and then it blacked it out about a second before I would hit the water.
It did black it out. Okay.
Eventually, but I fell most of that fall.
Oh, did your stomach like leave your body?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Although not nearly as much as something I will talk about in a minute. But
so this is again, you said it, but I'll just say it again. Horizon Call of the Mountain, the kind of would-be pack-in, but not really pack-in game.
Yeah. If you buy PSVR 2, you should get Horizon. Like this is absolutely the most like high fidelity, high budget. Like you see the money they put into this. Like it looks very good. I guess I feel like I've talked about the headset like 3 different places now or something, but the headset is fantastic. It is like basically the state of the art of current VR. Like you said, it doesn't do anything really that isn't being done on PC. But it's like right up there. I mean, I think it's like just a tiny bit higher resolution than the Quest Pro, which is the best Oculus headset out there. I don't know if other headsets have OLED screens or not. This has OLED, and something I hadn't thought about that occurred to me this morning is just how like dark and nice contrasty it is in there. Because like do you remember using like the PSVR 1? Everything looks kind of like gray and washed out because it's got shitty LCD backlights.
Yeah.
It's low res enough that you see that screen door effect on it. Anytime you see like a big like white blank screen, you'll just see like you're looking through a screen door because it's so low res.
Yeah, it's not horrendous, but it's definitely very noticeable.
I didn't have that as much as the kind of not blacks because you could see that the screen was also small enough where you could still see the
it's like fuzzy.
I don't know what they call it, the gussets.
So there is. So the screen door effect, like the pixelation is gone, and the contrast levels, the black levels are sublime, like they're fantastic. There is still a little bit of a grain all over everything, which I don't know if that has to do with the optics that you're looking through.
Interesting.
Like the lenses, I don't know where that comes from, but like it looks very clean and sharp.
But it's also taller.
First headset.
It's taller and wider, but you still see not gussets. What are they called? The plasticky part around the frame.
Oh, I don't know what the term for that is. But yes, like
you still see a little of that, right, off to the sides.
Like the field of view is the field of view is good for headsets from the stats I looked or the specs that I looked at on other headsets. But like you still see it's still narrow enough that you see it kind of looks you're looking through a porthole or goggles or something. But like. I mean, this is probably dependent on the person, but as I kind of like forget that I'm in VR, I also forget that that's there. You know, like I stop thinking about it.
I was going to say with the black levels on the PSVR 1, you still saw the screen when it was dark, kind of thing, because it was lit. Yeah,
it looks like pitch blackness now. If there's not anything cool. like when you're not in a VR game, quote unquote, and you just got the UI, like you're just looking at the PS5 menu, or you can also play traditional 2D games, which is like shockingly effective in this one. Around the big poster board movie screen looking thing floating in front of you is just pitch blackness, even where screen would be rendering something.
Okay,
like
so that sounds neat. Like that immersion sounds nice.
And like it's not the use case to buy this thing for, but I played a decent amount of the Dead Space remake in this thing, and it's like it's right there in your face, and it's high res enough that it looks not as good as on a TV. Like you're still sacrificing a little bit of sharpness, but the immediacy of it, the filling your view right in your face part is kind of awesome. Like I might play some more Dead Space that way. I'm not sure.
Is it comfortable to wear for that long period of time?
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as. It's like 90% as comfortable as the previous headset, which was the most comfortable VR headset I've used. Like this one feels a little more front heavy. Like I feel like it weighs on your nose maybe just a tad bit more.
Okay.
And also they call it the scope, the eyepiece part that slides in and out.
Yeah.
Like that feels a tad bit flimsier.
Okay.
Which hopefully will hold up over time, but it may be
like there's some slop in it.
Like it's like pulling on it feels like you're stressing the wrong parts of the plastic a little bit unless you're kind of gentle with it. I don't know. And not a big deal.
And you've worn your glasses inside, and it's been.
I tried without it, and I couldn't see shit. Like I was like, oh, maybe these screens are close enough that I can get away without glasses. No,
not so much.
Can you do that, or this doesn't come with extra lenses, right, or anything?
No,
like that?
You can get that for some PC headsets. There are places you can straight up send off your prescription to and get like lens inserts to put in there, which is awesome. Maybe they'll make that for this. I don't know. Like I think they're aftermarket, so hopefully, like if they came up with that, I would totally spring for a pair. Actually.
You would, because you don't want to wear your glasses in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten good enough at getting it on over the glasses that it's not a huge deal, but it would still be the thing that I always do is somehow smudge my glasses badly putting it on. It's not that it doesn't fit, it's that I get in there and everything is a smudgy mess and then I have to clean them. Anyway.
So it's comfortable.
Yes.
Comfortable fits. The hardware, we've talked a lot about it.
Yeah. You can go out and read the spec list or the feature set. It's got eye tracking. Mm-hmm. What else does it have? I'm trying to think, like just back of the box stuff. Like it comes with the 2 controllers that they've got finger tracking and all the motion stuff that you would want. XYZ, inside out tracking. So no external camera or sensor or anything to deal with. And a huge convenience feature.
A thing that I liked, aside from, again, maybe none of this is new, but the implementation seemed nice. When you set up your play zone, if you move outside of your play zone, it seemed to immediately switch to the outside cameras to show you where you were, which I thought was actually pretty neat.
Yeah, like, again, obviously the Quests have been doing this for a while, but yeah, being able to define your play area. Actually, honestly, it uses the depth cameras for the tracking, but they also double as like you can see through the headset. You can see everything around you by pressing a button on the headset. Like, that whole system makes this thing so much less like scary to use in a small space. It's still not great. I've still like smashed a couple of things randomly with my hand or walked into something I shouldn't have. But yeah, you can. It's got a user definable play area. You can see it on the stream where you just like use the controller as a wand to like paint on the ground where you want the quote unquote play area to end. And then anytime you get near that, and you can even set like a threshold for like how far away do I need to be before you start throwing up big flashing red signs going stop.
And it measures the controllers too, right? Even if the controllers leave it?
Controllers and headset, if you get near that thing, you'll start to see the boundary appear and then red highlights on where you're about to like breach the boundary, escape your VR cage.
Right.
But then the nicest thing is the second you go across that boundary, it drops you out of the game and cuts those cameras on, so it just immedially see everything around you.
I think we saw that once or twice during the stream where you walked into the peak zone, and that was
no virtual going on in there. It works very well. Like the tracking has been like 98% fine. Like it is a little sensitive to brightness. Like I've had a couple times like too much sun coming in made it seem a little wobbly. And if it's too dark, it can't do shit. Like the hardware experience, the onboarding, like pretty much the whole thing has been way smoother than the first one.
Okay.
No
camera, no external camera involved this time.
No nothing.
No moves. God. Move controllers. Yes. All right. Call of the Mountain.
Call of the Mountain is pretty awesome. It's story based. Like it seems to be set between Horizon 1 and 2. There are familiar characters in there.
Okay.
Let's say Blameless Mirage is your quest giver.
Okay.
Other characters might show up.
You are not Aloy, though.
No, you're like a new character. You're a. I think it's after the Shadow Carja War stuff, but you're like a prisoner of war, being promised a pardon if you go find your brother and solve a mystery about rampant machines.
Okay.
But it's a first person thing. Like it's very tactile. Like all the best stuff I've done with this thing is very tactile. You can grab stuff and throw it around. You can like pull a bow out, and it's movements that map 1-to-1 with stuff in VR games. Not a great revelation. That's the best use of the technology. But but they do a lot of that stuff here with the bow and arrow, with being able to pick stuff up and throw it. Like the climbing generally is fine. Feels a little bit weird. It kind of feels more like you're using your hands to move the world around you than it feels like you are moving through the world.
That was kind of what it looked like when you were playing, was this feeling that like there isn't that like the strain is deeply unnecessary, because as soon as you grip a thing and just move it, it will like everything will shift down with you.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it is more just funny to notice cognitively that you don't feel like you're climbing a thing. You just feel like you're moving a level around.
Right. We're not quite there yet.
No.
Yeah. But honestly, also like you're getting armor upgrades. You're crafting like blaze and shock arrows as if it's a Horizon game.
So you loot an eyeball lens from a watcher.
Yeah, there are challenges that I haven't done much of, but like the combat is the thing that's really impressing me, actually, because you get into these combat arenas and then they disable the movement. Like you can't walk like you could in more of the puzzle solving exploration stuff, but instead they give you like a dodge and a strafe. And so you're kind of, Now that I think about it, you're kind of like on runners.
Sure.
What is that a dolly or something? You're
like a track, like a
track.
Yeah.
You're basically operating in a ring around the thing you're fighting.
Right.
Or an arc. And you can dodge and strafe back and forth, but it's pretty demanding. Like I did a fight this morning with 3 scrappers at once, all running around shooting at you and like occasionally running and trying to hit you and stuff. And so it's like some pretty frantic management actually of strafing back and forth to dodge attacks and like pull out the right arrow you need to try to stun one of them to get it off your back for a minute.
All bow, all range,
all bow so far. I wouldn't be surprised if they give you more stuff later.
Okay,
but like it feels like fairly skill based. It feels like something you can get pretty good at in a way that's really satisfying. And the aiming of the bow, you're trying to hit weak points, shoot off plasma cannons and battery packs and stuff. Like it's Horizon. So
I would say the bow look stuff was like maybe the jankiest looking part of that game, which isn't to say that like it seemed like you were able to hit stuff pretty easily. It's just that like the weird arms like floating into the center of the screen thing just did not look great.
Occasionally it'll kind of get in your way a little bit, but it's approachable enough. But then they start having you jump across straight up sheer drops, jump across this canyon and grab the ledge on the other side. They do slow down the action as you approach the other side, so you have a second to get ready. But now I'm at the point where I've got these climbing axes, and there are walls you can only climb with climbing axes. So now it's like jump across this canyon and pull out the pickaxes before you've missed the jump, and hook them into the wall.
Living that cliffhanger lifestyle.
And I have it's a little idiosyncratic how it manages like grip, quote unquote, and that's what happened this morning. Was the grip doesn't work like you think it should, I just let go of both pickaxes while hanging from the side of and the next thing I knew, I was falling about 100 feet.
Oh man, that's terrifying.
It was a lot.
I wonder if there's an option to like black the screen out sooner or something in the accessibility. That's terrifying.
It asks you when you start, it gives you like 3 presets for like, do you want comfort controls, veteran controls? Those are presets. You can actually drill down and there's like a dozen or more options for different types of turning and locomotion and grip and XYZ. So I've got it set to like whatever the kind of least assists mode is off the bat, which I think is fine. Also, as you saw on the stream, you walk with your hands in that mode.
Yeah.
Like you hold a button and move your arms as if they're your legs to walk.
It's very silly, but also I understand why they did it that way.
I'm sure it looks silly to watch somebody doing it. It's weird though, like mentally you can kind of get into a mode where you feel like your hands are your feet.
You're thinking about it.
Because you can like creep, you can like walk very slowly to kind of peer around a corner and stuff.
You definitely have like a, I don't know, like a 70s do the hustle thing going on.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's a reference everyone listening to this podcast is definitely going to get.
Listen, you don't know what the hustle is, look it up.
Yeah.
Like, there is some good stuff out there on PC in recent years I haven't tried, but like this is one of the most fully realized video games in VR I have seen. Which is the Sony advantage, right? Is that with stuff like Astrobot on the previous headset, like Sony knows how to make some pretty fucking good video games. They just need to throw money at some of their teams to keep doing that.
Sony's like pretty good at hardware sometimes too. Yeah. Well, sometimes like how's that battery life? Is all right?
TBD.
Okay.
The controller battery behavior has been a little weird. Like the right controller has consistently been dying faster than the left controller. Which is maybe just something is off with my unit. I don't know.
So some people posited a couple of things when you were live streaming. One, that if a lot of the movements are mapped to the right hand, you will wind up using that one more.
I thought about that maybe I'm just moving it more because you can in Horizon, and No Man's Sky, which we need to talk about. You can set a dominant hand where like this. Yeah, so that's possible.
So if you're engaging the gyroscopes and the tracking and the whole thing
possible.
More, maybe
I don't know. It's weird, but
or it could be it could be like the Switch situation where one controller communicates with another controller. I think this is how it works. One communicates with the other controller, and that controller communicates with the main device. So it could be one is...
Yeah, I checked that here. You can turn on and pair and just use the left controller without the right one being on.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they're independent here.
Okay.
It's been fine broadly. Like, I think you're, let's say, 3 to 5 hours of life for the controllers, maybe, which is certainly more time than you probably want to spend in VR.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, if you're spending 5 hours in VR at a time, I'm going to say, stop.
Thing is, though,
I'm going to say I'm very impressed because you have an iron stomach.
Yeah.
I wonder how expensive those controllers are. I bet they are not cheap.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're selling them separately.
I would doubt right now, because hopefully nobody's broken out of the gate. Or you're not going to want a second pair, right? I guess unless you're doing marathon sessions.
I can't imagine any reason you would.
The only reason I would do it is be like, hey, kids, these are Dad's VR controllers. You can use these and break them. But you don't use these.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody's going to throw one through a wall.
Yeah.
Almost assuredly.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the kind of thing where they would just direct you to support or warranty or whatever. But I'm looking, I don't see that they're selling them separately much. I think it's probably one of those kinds of things where it's like, well, if you have the headset, you have the controllers. Why would we need to sell extra ones? Much like my broken PS5 stand that I cannot just replace.
There you go.
So Sony, I would give you $30 for a new stand. I know the profit margin on that would be huge. Just sell me one, please.
You know, you got a warehouse full of those things.
Anyway, yeah, Horizon's very cool.
Okay. What do you want to talk about next?
No Man's Sky blew my fucking mind about 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
It had VR support previously.
Yes.
And the last time I played it in VR was when Sean Murray was showing it to me at a PSVR event like 4 years ago or something.
Okay.
So I don't think I played it after it launched. But the Fractal update, I mean, they update that game so much. Like, that thing is just the thing is like a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
The way they keep putting out, like, how many games are like this? I mean, yes, some games get updates like this, but like, they've put out so many updates for free for that game that you buy once and then just get like years of extra stuff. Updates. It's crazy how they support that game. It's just so cool. Anyway, the Fractal update came out this morning, and near as I can tell, they have like fully reworked the UI in this thing for VR. Despite it having VR before, that's kind of how they're describing it. And I looked at like some of the features that really blew me away. I went out and looked, and as far as I can tell on reading on like The Verge and stuff, I think they are mostly new features.
But you haven't, to be fair, you haven't been in it in VR for quite a while. So
no, and it was using PlayStation Moves last time I played it, you know. Okay. So it's like those are of limited capability, let's say. And now you have nice modern controllers, but like, it's just all the UI feels so goddamn science fiction now. It is so cool. Like, when you get in there, you've got floating hands, and you very subtly notice there's a little holographic icon hovering over your left wrist.
Okay.
And then they quickly tell you, hey, to access your menu, hold up your wrist and point at it with your other hand. And
like, you using do that, the finger pointer and stuff?
You don't even hit a button. You literally just hold your wrist up and point at it with the other hand. And this big holographic menu pops out of your wrist and like tracks your arm movement as it just floats in front of you.
Oh, wow.
And you use your other hand to like go through it. It's like some Iron Man shit or whatever.
Okay. Or like Minority Report
yes.
swiping.
Yeah, so like to use anything now, you like point at it, hold a button, and pull.
Okay.
It's like you have to kind of, you should try it when you get your headset. Like,
yeah, I absolutely will.
I'm trying to think what else was in there. It's like the hand mounted flashlight maps. So when night happens and all of a sudden you're just waving this flashlight around. Like all the HUD is very much floating and VR appropriate now. Like some of this again may have been in the original VR version, but they've definitely gone further with it. I know like the shield, like the energy shield you can get, like it has got some better functionality there.
Did you get in your ship?
Yes, getting in the ship is bananas. I think probably some of this has been in the previous VR version, but like it's all like actual ship controls, you know? Like I think some of that definitely was, but it's like to speed up and slow down, there's just a throttle that you pull back and forth, you know, and you have to grab the flight stick in front of you to move the ship, to steer the ship. Like it's pretty great.
Does it, okay, so when you describe it, does it feel weird that there's no tactile resistance or anything when you're doing those things, like moving a throttle, or it's fine, your brain just adjusts?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, like There's definitely a moment where it felt like I moved the throttle in the VR world as far as it would visually go, but then I still kept pushing it and it kept accelerating past that or something. Like
okay.
It felt a little strange. I don't know if my brain was just not interpreting.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are haptics in the controllers and there are haptics in the headset. Have you felt any of that stuff?
I just, the headset buzzes when you turn it on. And outside of that, I cannot remember feeling haptics in the headset. That doesn't mean they're not using them, but if they are, like I'm just extremely not registering them consciously.
Was
the hand haptics are much more noticeable. Was
the VR stuff in No Man's Sky enough to get you to want to jump back into No Man's Sky? And, okay.
I want to play more of that and see if, I mean, I've tried many times and I usually only stick with it for a few. I've got maybe 30 hours in that game cumulatively, 40 over some years.
You got your Normandy, right?
But yes, I did. I got the Normandy on both consoles.
Oh, man.
For all that No Man's Sky I've been playing.
That's cool. I want to. That's a free update, right?
Yes, that's free. I'm trying to think. Res Infinite and Tetris Effect, are getting updates. Those are $10 a piece if you own the games previously on the PS4. But they're also adding some other stuff. Like Tetris Effect is getting a bunch of new, like kind of standard Tetris modes, score attack modes and stuff like that. So there's just more game there as well. Res uses the eye tracking.
Really?
To aim.
Oh.
Like, you can straight up just be in Res painting targets with your eyes.
For you, has it worked well for you?
Yeah, it's very responsive. Like, the eye tracking has been basically flawless, even with glasses on.
Okay.
And it's kind of... Eye tracking in general, both in Res and, like, Horizon... A lot of games use it for menus, it seems, or at least Horizon does.
Optional, right? Because obviously there are going to be people who, have one eye, or it's not working well for them.
I want to say I believe you can just disable eye tracking at the system level, but then also Horizon makes it a top level menu toggle. Like there's just a straight up like press R3 to disable eye tracking right there. So like certainly don't have to engage with it, but it's really something to get used to because you're not used to input being tied to where you're glancing with your eyeballs.
Right.
Yes.
It's like it's fine, but like playing Res for the first time, once you get used to it, it's going to be amazing. But at first I was like, why do I keep aiming at stuff I don't mean to? Oh, right. My eyes are an input device now. This is insane.
Does it like, I don't know, once you're conscious of it, your eyes like get tired, like scanning around the screen? Okay.
No, not that I've noticed. I mean, you can also use the controller.
Okay.
There. So that's fine.
It's weird. We didn't talk. We talked about this on the stream, but it's worth mentioning. As of the recording, or on Monday, Tuesday, and then recording here, it has been plugged into PCs by various people. It does not get recognized as of
this date.
What I've said, I need to follow up on this. I think I've seen somebody plugged it into like the USB-C on their graphics card, and it did come up as a display, as like a generic DisplayPort device.
Interesting.
Which doesn't mean a whole lot off the bat, but I think that does mean that it's like it's not at least not like fully encrypting or scrambling everything it's doing. So there might be potential there. Who knows?
But it does not work on a PC, basically, at this point.
Absolutely not. Yeah. No. And like I said on the stream, I think it's safe. Like, definitely do not buy this thing assuming it will work on PC at some point.
Fair,
like, go in. I think the safest thing is to go in assuming it never will, and then if and when it does, it'll be a nice surprise.
Yeah.
But also, the thing's not even out widely. It's just a few people got it early. So
yeah.
I think in the next week or two, we will definitely start getting more insight into what, if any, potential is there.
The reason I bring that up is one of the things I would love to check out with this, because I've heard other VR are very good with it, is Microsoft's Flight Simulator, which obviously this thing not going to...
hey, man, let's see Phil Spencer get out there and commit to 10 years of Flight Simulator on the PlayStation 5. Maybe we will approve this merger.
So like those kind of things with the eye tracking and the was it foveated
or foveated, I'm not sure how I should look that up.
Those kind of things are cool. I want to say, boy, this is where people could absolutely feel free to correct me. Actual fighter pilot helmets have that eye tracking built in for putting the HUD over where they're looking.
There is definitely some advanced technology in fighter pilot helmets that has some version of that now. But I think that stuff has also been around in some form or another for years.
This is super random. I came upon a white paper last night from like 2004. I was like looking up some information about old IRC clients. I found a white paper about United States Navy command groups using MIRC and Zircon, which is another old IRC client I used to use, to coordinate like fleet movement type stuff.
Listen, man, you've seen enough submarine movies to know when communication goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll link that white paper in the notes.
Silly, get on Trillion.
Anyway,
I need every client get on Pigeon.
I hope the government bought an MIRC license. That's all I can say.
No,
the man deserves the money. Anyway, eye tracking. Yes,
eye tracking for Res Infinite.
Yes. I'm trying to think what else. Like again, a lot of the stuff we played on the stream or that I have played has been out for a while. So
you tried that roguelike, which seemed tough.
The Light Brigade. I need to put more time into that. I didn't fully understand how the inventory worked when we went in. But even once I did, I lasted about 10 seconds in there. It's very hard.
It seemed so what do you think, general? I'm going to just pull back again. VR, and people listening, it's okay. It's coming from a place of PlayStation VR1 and early VR, but in your sense going in now, and you've had more experience with VR than either of Alex or I have, is movement pretty much figured out in ways, or are people still experimenting with how to kind of locomote?
Different methodologies.
Yeah, get you around.
This hand-based walking in Horizon I have never seen before. I don't know if that's been done in previous games or other software. I'm not sure.
Is free walking just fine at this point?
It's pretty much fine. I mean, it's really just space dependent.
No, I mean with a controller, like using like a thumbstick to just move your character around.
Or
is that still like nausea-inducing?
I feel like this is anecdotal. I feel like I'm seeing more games that just default to smooth walking, smooth locomotion than I used to. But smooth turning, almost nobody is. Like occasionally they'll say, "Hey, you can enable this at start if you want," but almost everybody is defaulting to the incremental turning, because that is.
That'll get your stomach going.
That one's rough. Yes, the walking is not. I have not found is so bad.
Okay,
but No Man's Sky defaulted to teleporting still.
Okay,
which is I think the maximalist don't get sick and throw up position is teleport for walking and stutter turning for turning.
Can you
not smooth anything?
Can you toggle that to smooth walking?
In No Man's Sky, it was pretty easy to do. Actually. Probably the sickest I have felt in this thing is vehicle roll. Oh, the other thing with No Man's Sky, the fucking jetpack.
Yeah.
The jetpack. Was worse than falling off of that cliff in Horizon.
I could see that.
Not worse. Like, I mean, if I did it enough, I probably would get sick. But like, not worse in a like, oh, this is awful, never do that again. But more of a just like, my stomach did a cartwheel when I. Turned on the jetpack the first time, got to the apex, and then ran out of juice and plummeted to Earth again.
Oh,
like I really felt like I was falling. It was wild and kind of cool, but also scary.
Yeah, like I get that sensation every once in a while when I'm like falling asleep. That like, oh, you've just fallen over a cliff sensation, and I always start out of bed when that happens. I don't think I want that in a VR.
It was very physical in my stomach of feeling like the plummet.
Or even when I have problems, even like in Assassin's Creed, when I would miss a jump and just like my whole lower everything, like my testicles and everything would just rise up and be like, all
right, we're what, 80 episodes and 90 episodes in? This is the first time Vinny has said that his testicles on this podcast.
All right, testicles rise up. There's our title.
We're here. We finally did it.
For the week.
It's an adult show, folks.
I said, all right, my testes.
No, you said testicles.
Yeah, I did
say testicles.
I'm sure I've talked about my testicles before. Anyway,
not on this podcast. I would remember.
That feeling sounds dangerous for something like a jetpack or VR. Or I am very sensitive to that stuff, so I don't know.
I don't get motion sick, but like jerky motions where I feel like I'm going to fall or I am up on something that is incredibly precarious, that just immediately makes me turtle up. Like I can't deal with it.
I've never had motion sickness issues in cars or in first-person games or anything. VR is the first place that I've had issues with it.
I mean, if you're going to get it, that's probably the place.
I still think about that stream we did with the Google Maps VR and you just like wanting to lie down on the floor, being like, I don't want to be here anymore.
I think I did lie down on the floor.
You did, yeah.
So I had to lie down once this weekend. I pushed it further than I should have. I should have listened to my inner ear and gotten out of there and did not. And by the time I did get out of there, it was about 10 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes of thinking I might throw up right now. Like I had to go lie down. I was like, I might throw up. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I made it.
So to be clear, mine wasn't the motion sick stuff. Mine was, we were doing this street map stuff in the Google VR and we were like, oh, let's go check out the Empire State Building, put a pin over there. It put me on the top of the Empire State Building.
Literally on top of the needle.
Yeah, looking down, and I think I just collapsed to the floor, my hands and knees. And
you're like, I can't want to be. I remember you moaning, saying, I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, that's like a night. That's like a nightmare.
That's a nightmare. Here's the thing. You were right. I get it.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I accidentally turned on photo mode in No Man's Sky at one point, which works exactly like you think it does. And accidentally zoomed way out above my body very rapidly. And that was a weird one too. Of
it's like oh my god, raptured.
Yes, like I have literally left my body and I'm floating away. Ooh.
I bet there's some really cool stuff people could get into. I'm sure they have already with those things.
I talked about it on the stream. I saw there's a clip going around on Twitter or probably elsewhere of the Dark Pictures game Switchback, right? The Dark Pictures Switchback, I believe is the name of that. Which is, it's very similar to that Until Dawn VR game they did for PSVR 1, which is basically like
it's
a literal roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like you're literally in like a minecart roller coaster kind of thing, shooting gallery type stuff, but like they seem to be, maybe not a surprise, like horror is a great place to leverage some of these weird technologies, you know? It's like, like they're doing the thing, and there was a person green screened into this footage so you can kind of see them reacting as you see the game. Like they're doing the thing where every time you blink, like a bunch of creepy shit gets closer to you when you open your eyes again.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see. And again, that's just throw budget at developers, you know, like we just need games to get funded for this thing to see more stuff like that. So I hope that's coming.
Did that Resident Evil 8 VR get patched up to this?
I didn't think to check this morning. As of the last time I looked, it had not.
Just speaking of horror in VR.
Yeah. I mean, having played RE7, I'm guessing that's pretty similar.
Okay.
I'd hope. I mean, there's a PS5 version of RE7 out. I hope to God they port that VR mode from that game to this. I'm not holding my breath for that.
I would
be great if they did.
They fast. I mean, listen, developers have to be incentivized to put this work in, but like stuff like Super Hot, stuff like Moss and 1 and 2 are up there, right?
Yes, those are out.
Yeah.
There's
what was the like launch VR shooter thing they had around? I think it used the controller, like a weird attachment controller for the Move
for
PlayStation
for
VR one. Yeah. I don't think it like had legs or anything, but it was the one they kept showing where you'd lean out and kind of shoot, and it had that big plasticky white controller you'd stick a Move in.
Oh God, what was that? I have completely forgotten.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But like, it would be nice if they brought a lot of that stuff over, because there wasn't too much stuff on the PlayStation VR. It'd be nice if a lot of it came over, or at least the best stuff come over. I don't know if that counts as the best stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. They just announced like 10 more games yesterday, and there's a state of play this week that's got VR.
Yeah, I mean,
so hopefully they get behind it.
The nice thing about me not being in VR for the last 5+ years is that there's plenty of stuff on the PC that can come over that would be new to me that I didn't get. I mean, listen, is Half-Life Alyx going to come over? Probably not in the near future, but I would love it.
So.
One day there will be a let's just say a fuchsia box that comes out from Steam that has some games in it, and I bet that will be in there.
I hope they do that. They really should do that. Some people were asking in the wake of our stream if I had ever played Half-Life Alyx. Yeah. Yes. I played enough of it to think it was cool as hell, and also that my Windows Mixed Reality headset was maybe not it was fine. Like, that headset's not terrible, but it's like kind of on the lower end of specs. And I played enough Alex to go like, I kind of wish I had a better headset for this, because this seems awesome. And the PSVR 2 is that better headset, and I really hope they put Alex out on it. They absolutely should. More people should get to play that.
Put me out on it.
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
Put me on VR.
Yes. Did you? I didn't. I just found out last night that Merle Dandridge, the voice of Alex, is in that new Last of Us show.
Huh.
I did not realize.
Huh.
That's a random fact for you.
All right.
What else? Kayak VR Mirage is amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Seems very peaceful in a very nice way.
It's chill, except for the kind of quasi-multiplayer races, which are decidedly not chill. But otherwise, if you just want to sit in a kayak and like paddle around an extremely nice-looking, naturalistic environment with some very pretty water, like it seems like a nice place to just go chill, maybe for 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the day.
Seems all right.
Like I might, yeah. And the kayak it's the physics on the water physics on paddling the kayak and everything feel like super right.
Okay.
Which is always great. That thing's cool. But it's that and Gran Turismo 7 are the things that I've had some queasiness coming out of. If I like anything that's like a vehicle feels like it's kind of the thing. I think it's probably just because you're moving more, right?
Probably.
Like when you're on foot, you're just stationary whenever you want to be. And in a boat or car, you're kind of moving forward all the time. Anyway.
The Gran Turismo stuff looked very nice.
Yeah.
From what we could see.
It looks good. The interior of the car looked amazing.
Yeah.
Everything around it looked good. Like, not mind-blowing fidelity, but like the environment looked pretty good too.
But that's GT7 is the thing. Yeah. Is that like the car stuff in that game looks absolutely incredible, and then a lot of the track stuff looks a little less so.
Yeah.
So
I'm sitting here looking at the PSVR 1 launch games and just thinking like, man, that'd be cool if they ported Super Hypercube to this. I bet that's not going to happen, but
that painting game, what was the
which one? I mean, there's Tilt Brush, but I don't know if that did that come out on PSVR. That was mainly a
I thought it was
a PC thing.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of confusing it with something else. I thought you used the Move controllers for some painting thing.
Yeah, there may have been something else like that. Tilt Brush is a Google thing. I'm not sure if it's. I mean, painting in like 3D painting in VR is a natural fit. I would not be shocked if there was something similar on PSVR.
Wonder if Kerbal 2 will get a PSVR 2.
I don't know.
Seems like that would be all right, building your spaceships. Anything else you want to talk about in PSVR 2?
I think that covers most everything. Like, I'm kind of looking for a list of every single announced game.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a bunch of other, like, launch things, but, like, we haven't necessarily had the time to play them all yet.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried most of what I have access to. Tentacular was pretty awesome on that stream.
That game seemed cool. I like that thing.
Yes. I mean, it's your classic, like, let's fuck some shit up in a wacky way in VR kind of thing. Let's just grab stuff and throw it everywhere. I mean, but there are puzzles there. It's cool.
And again, I think that came out last year. But like, for PSVR.
That I believe has been out for about a year. What the Bat is cool, but it sounds like they had an issue. Basically, it wants you to be in room scale.
So I think they fixed that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or they are fixing.
They are. If the patch has not gone out yet, one is going out.
I saw that they are going to fix that, but I don't think it's out yet. But that seemed cool, but I didn't get to play much of it because it wants you to have more space than you almost certainly have.
I mean, you got bats for hands.
What else? I think that's most everything.
I saw Gorn got announced for PlayStation VR 2, which is a game I just happen to like from my time with VR. That weird gladiator game where you're smashing people in the head. Seemed fun.
The classic Wikipedia list of PlayStation VR 2 games I don't think is a thing yet. I'm trying to just find everything coming out for that thing.
So like do you think Call of the Mountain is PSVR 2's like thing people will be talking about
like
for a while?
Like the closest thing to a killer app?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd quite call it a killer app. Like, it's not quite that amazing, but it's very solidly built and much more fully featured than I expected. Okay. Like, it's much more of a real game than I had any right to hope, I think.
It's a big, I mean, it's a over $500 you're probably $600 probably when you get the charging cradles and all that stuff. It's a big ask with, I think, the software lineup they have right now, which is a bunch of ported stuff and some older re-releases.
Yeah, that's why like we need to see some new exclusives getting announced, because stuff like that Dark Pictures game looks cool. You know, like we need a lot more of that, I think, to justify the price. I mean, the way I look at it is that in an absolute sense, it's a pretty expensive buy-in. You know, it's a $400 to $500 console and a $550 thing, and then games on top of that.
Right, from a dollar amount.
Right. But by PC standards, though, like it's relatively inexpensive. Like you're getting like a full VR experience here. For people are going to quibble about this and be like, "Oh, I could build a good VR PC better for cheaper than $400." But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I totally. By the time you're in for the video card, the headset, the computer, those things are going to. The scales are going to start tipping one way or another.
It's generally cheaper than you're going to get an equivalent PC experience, and like just the ease of entry. You know, it's literally just hook up a video game console, plug one cable into the front of it, put the headset on, and go.
Yeah. So there are a couple of flavors of PC headset now, right? You said the Pro before, and
like
then
the Oculus is the one that's been like revving their stuff the most.
Okay.
Like I don't think there has been another Index since the Index, has there?
I don't know. I really don't pay that much attention in the PC space.
Like the Vive Pro happened, but that was also very expensive. I think that thing launched at like what, $1,300 or something.
Really? Okay. Is that still Lighthouses?
Vive Pro is years old at this point. Yes, the Vive Pro was still Lighthouses. All the Oculus stuff is inside out tracking and has been for a while. God, I hope the Vive. Oh God, there is a Vive Pro 2.
Okay.
$1,400. I don't follow very closely the PC headset space. Like I just kind of come across it now and then.
So if this did have third party or a mod support to work on the PC with the Steam store, marketplace, and or the Facebook, what do they call it? The Facebook Meta marketplace. Would you say this is a no-brainer headset?
It's if you want a headset. Yeah.
Okay. To be clear, it does not now. So people listening, it does not. But
assuming full compatibility, that it runs literally anything that SteamVR can run.
Yeah,
that's a pretty compelling pitch.
Stuff does run if you have like Oculus on the Steam store, right? You can get that.
There are ways. There are ways to get Oculus stuff running on non-Oculus headsets, because Oculus is the only company, like big company out there, still throwing money at games or throwing money at software, really.
Okay. All right.
In a major way that I'm aware of.
Operation get this thing to work on a PC somehow.
Yeah, it would be cool as hell if it happens. I'll believe it when I see it.
We're not there yet.
I would be cool even if it worked, the headset worked, and I had to go buy, different controllers. If I had to go buy the Vive Pro controllers or something like that. Just depending on how much they are, I haven't even looked them up. I'm sure they're very expensive also, but it'd be neat. I'd play with I'd play with a controller. I just want it to work on a PC.
Yeah. All right. Also unclear to me if you would need a USB-C port on your graphics card, which I think is a distinct possibility. I'm not 100% on that, but I think there are not a ton of GPUs out there with USB-C out yet. So that could also be a barrier. I don't know.
Let's get my soldering iron. I'll get my Iron OS soldering.
Yep.
All right. Anything else about the PSVR before we take a break?
I think that's it. It's kind of what I expected it to be, which is a very solid headset, extremely generally good experience. Just fingers crossed that the games keep coming.
I'm curious how many people listening have, because you have to be PS5 in, right? You have to have a PS5 and then also be willing to shell out $600 for this experience. I wonder how many people listening are like, "Oh yeah, I'm all the way in," or like, "Never,
not a chance,
not going to happen."
Yeah,
it's a big ask.
Yeah, and my guess, I mean, just pure speculation, I would guess this thing is expensive enough to make that we're not going to see the rapid price cuts that we saw to the first PSVR.
I suspect if we do, then we know that we're not getting any other games in the near future, because that means nobody bought this thing.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Like a Dragon Ishin and a couple more games before we head over to the news. Stick around. We'll be back soon. We're back. And now I don't have I was trying to think of a virtual segue. But Like a Dragon, virtually a Yakuza game.
From the future to the past?
Uh-huh.
To the distant past and the recent past, because this is an old game about older Japan.
Yeah,
Okay.
this thing, I keep forgetting this thing is like way older than you might think, right?
2013 or 14, I think, is when it originally released.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is older.
Wasn't this a PS3 game?
It started out as, it might have been one of those like PS3, PS4, like cross-launch type things. It was definitely in that range.
I'm going to double check here.
But I think the original game was running on the, what was essentially then the Yakuza 0 engine.
Yes, this did release on the PS3 as well.
Okay.
So we talked a little bit about this previously. I think we talked about it in a preview mode. And
yeah,
now,
I went to a preview event. I played a full chapter of it before.
And now you have played or are currently playing.
Yeah, I'm a couple chapters into it. Like a lot of these games, it's slow going in the beginning. It has a long wind up before you really kind of get into the meat of the story. Like that first chapter alone is a couple of hours. But yes, this is a game that is a side story to all things Yakuza / Like a Dragon. As I mentioned before, the characters in this game are the likenesses and the voice actors that you know from the Yakuza games, but they are playing different characters in a 1860s, I believe, Japan.
Okay, right, yes.
Like, the game kind of kicks off with at least allusions to European explorers / invaders arriving in Japan and sort of throwing the whole, samurai system into some degree of chaos. And they talk about things like the Dutch medicine and the black ships and all this other stuff. And there's actually like a little bit of, like, you can click on a thing if you want to learn more about what this reference is, because there is a lot of like history in here as far as like this era and what they're portraying. But at its core, this is a Yakuza style melodramatic beat 'em up story where you are revenging family things that have happened, and I think your dad gets killed, and so you're on a quest to find out the person who killed him, who is a ninja that was using a very particular style of swordsmanship that is not often seen. So that is your only lead, and that's what you're hunting down.
And so timeline wise, this is we have gunpowder, I assume. Like, are there like
You have a gun.
You have a gun, and this is also kind of the tail end of the samurai.
Yeah, I mean I'm not a Japanese history expert. Just to be clear with this right now, but this is not the end, but it is definitely in the waning era of the samurai feudalism, and like I think in this era the emperor is out of power, but also there is a large movement to try and put the emperor back in power. I guess I should say my question is guns and swords. Yes, in fact there is a style that is a gun and sword combo style. Okay. But again, it's still a beat 'em up. Like, you can still just punch dudes and throw fucking, like benches at them if you want to. But there's a sword style, there's a straight up gun style, and then there's a combo style as well. And those are like your four main fighting styles. Is there a VO, English VO for this game, or is it all? Do you just play with the Japanese? I don't think they did a dub for this one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they've done English dubs in a long time, have they?
No. They started doing them again recently.
Oh, they did?
Yes. So with Judgment, I believe, was the first one they did an English dub for, and then they also did one for the Yakuza 7.
Okay. I still remember, I mean, this was when we were still at GameSpot, the very first Yakuza that came out over here. They dumped a ton of money into getting celebrity voice actors for
Michael Madsen and Mark Hamill.
Like a stacked cast.
I saw a quote recently that someone asked Mark Hamill about that game, and he said, "I don't even remember being in it."
That's fair.
That guy voice acts a lot. I get it. That dub was fucking terrible.
Rachel Lee Cook was in it. Eliza Dushku, Michael Madsen, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah, they got away from it for a while. But the thing is, the localizations back then also weren't as good.
Like I remember, they hyped up the voice cast so much, and then the game did not sell.
Yeah,
it's like, maybe we're just not going to do English VO for these anymore.
Well, I feel like part of the problem, and again, I did not come into these games until later. It was Yakuza 0 that really got me into them. But my recollection was they very much tried to market this as Japan's answer to GTA, and no one bought it. Like, it just did not fit. Like, the vibe of that did never really carried over.
Yeah, I mean, it's super not that, right? I mean, it's never been that, right?
No, I mean, it is technically an open world, but it is a very condensed open world. It's an open neighborhood game, basically.
Right. And very story-driven. It's not like emergent chaos like what you think of a Western open world game being.
No, the closest you get to that is some of the combat stuff where, I mean, by the time they get to Yakuza 7, you are literally calling in summons, but even back then, it was more just like, hey, look at all the objects you can break over a dude's head.
Right. It was like, is this one also kind of quarantined encounters where like you get an encounter and then you're battling in a zone?
Yeah, I mean, so this feels like it's running in the Kiwami engine, which is the one they use to remake 1 and 2. I'd say the combat feels like a little bit more old school Yakuza than like where things kind of ended up, even with the Judgment games. And I do kind of miss a little bit of the dynamics of the current combat system, but it's not unfun. But yes, a lot of these combat encounters, you're kind of being funneled into areas, and some of them are a little more open. Like when you run into dudes on the street, you can kind of run around a little bit and find stuff and attack. But there's definitely like, hey, here's your conversation bubble. Here's your, these narrow walkways. I think you're in Kyoto primarily in this one. I think you start out in another town, but like it seems like most of the game takes place in old Kyoto. And it's an 1860s city, so it's a very different environment from what these games usually go for, but it still has that same storytelling flavor to it.
Also extremely not a Japanese history expert, but like, do they touch on the kind of like isolationism and like I believe this was around the time they were kind of opening up to more foreign trade and like commerce, and is that I like the references you made earlier I was not familiar with about like Dutch medicine and stuff like that. Is that part of that?
I didn't know much about that stuff either going in, but it's like they just start hammering you with that stuff pretty quick of like people are just talking about stuff that's happening. Like it's interesting. There's a lot of, I think depending on which region you're in, some of the regional slang is localized as very British. Like they're using like Britishy kind of slang to sort. I don't know if that's because that's the kind of terminology that was infected by English explorers appearing there, or if that has some other thing. I don't know all the context for that. They have also sometimes translated regional Japanese dialect into more Eurocentric slang or American regional slang to sort of represent that it is different here. But it's, again, I don't know all the ISO, like I haven't gotten far enough into it to see how deep it's going with that stuff, but it is telling a story of a country that feels like it is very much at odds with itself, and some of that seems to be the direct result of making contact with Europeans.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a Yakuza crime syndicate in the 1860s?
No, so you do hook up with this cadre of, I'm going to call them samurai, though they seem very more like a militia.
Okay.
And they seem like they kind of run the show, but it's where I'm at in the story. It is undetermined exactly, like, are they a criminal enterprise or are they literally just the enforcement part of the power structure here? I don't know all the ins and outs yet.
A Ronin is a samurai who has no
masterless,
liege, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And lots of people are interchangeably referred to as Ronin here, but there's also, like, they get into some of the stratuses of, like, different kinds of samurai, like the Goshi versus the Joshi and all that kind of stuff. And this is not anything I knew anything about going into this game. You are going
to be an expert by the time you're done.
Maybe so. I don't know. I've seen some people say that, like, the way the story ties up, it touches on some of the more nationalistic stuff regarding Japan and its politics of this era, but maybe does not, like, really get into any kind of meaningful commentary on that stuff. But it's not the first time these games would use some aspect of Japanese politics more as window dressing than as something that is like a real political statement.
Have they revisited the Like a Dragon Ishin series? Is there a 2 or is there a sequel in Japan?
Okay, so there's another Gaiden style game that is a zombie game, I remember, and that is you are fighting zombies in Kamurocho with the main characters thing.
Okay, so not Ishin specifically.
There might have been a second one. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But for a longest time, no one thought any of these games were going to come out in the US, and then Yakuza exploded over here, and they just started looking for anything they could put out here.
There is that other spin-off that we talked about last time you played this game, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name.
Okay, yes.
Which is the other one that's coming out this year.
Oh, so that is coming out. Oh, right. That's the new one, though,
that's
right?
The new one, yeah.
Oh, is that one brand new?
I think that one is new.
Okay, maybe you're right. Okay, I thought that was a similar situation to this. This had been out in Japan and was coming out.
So
globally.
My understanding is that is a game that is taking place within the Yakuza 7 timeline, and I think it is about Kiryu.
Okay.
Because Kiryu has a very small part in Yakuza 7, and I think this might be fleshing out some of the stuff around his character and why he's even in that game.
A lot of going on with the franchise, which I still want to call Yakuza, even though it's not called Yakuza anymore.
Well, I mean, they just changed the US name to that fairly recently. I mean, it was always Like a Dragon in Japan, but like it's been Yakuza here for so long that I think that's going to be hard to shake.
And then it's still Like a Dragon 8 at some announced.
That's, I think, next year.
Okay, yeah. All right, Like a Dragon. You think you're gonna keep going with this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's been I like Judgment or Lost Judgment okay, but it's been just long enough since Yakuza 7 that I feel like I'm willing to throw some hours into another one of these until the next big one comes.
The big one.
And I never played this one, so
Like a Dragon Ishin out now. Catch it.
Yeah.
Or out a while ago if you're in the right
and
territory.
now out now, but also a while ago, but now too.
I finished up Deliver Us Mars, the sequel to Deliver Us the Moon.
Gonna say that probably wasn't very long, was it?
It was the right length.
Okay,
let's say.
That's the only important part.
Yeah, I couldn't give you an hour count. It's a $30 game. I really liked it, though.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said last time, I think the voice acting, the story, the narrative, the storytelling is very well done, and it's rough in certain spots that you might come to think from a, let's say, smaller budgeted or slightly smaller scope of a game. But I think there are places where you think it's going to get super hokey and corny, and I think it does a pretty good job of pulling the nose of the plane out of the dirt.
Gotcha.
It might be a little heavy-handed in spots, but generally I think it's a pretty well-told story about the collapse of Earth and humanity, and a story that's been told a lot both in video games and movies and media, and I think it's a fresh enough spin on it to keep it interesting. And it makes it intensely personal, almost to a fault. And I remembered having this with Deliver Us the Moon, where it feels like a group of people can just get a rocket ship and go into outer space fairly easily, but they also still make a big deal out of it having a kind of a NASA-like equivalent. But it's like, you're just going to launch yourself into space? Okay.
Hell
yeah. I guess. Listen.
Gotta launch myself somewhere.
Maybe we're closer to that than I would like to believe. But I think Deliver Us Mars does pay off, and I think it takes some chances, and I think it's worth checking out if you're, I would say, with the caveat of it might be a little rough in spots. It's not a graphically super polished. I think it's fine, but there are going to be things in it. And I think the main mechanics, gameplay wise, it's what I hate to say this because I don't want to disrespect what I think is a very good game and a lot of hard work by the developers, but it's one of those games you wish one day would be remade with a bigger budget, and they'd go in and they'd trim some parts that were like, this feels like filler in the gameplay, or like this feels like you wanted to do this, but you couldn't quite get there. And scene missing card feels like it should be up some places, but it feels like it's worth it. I felt like this game would be worth that investment of like, this is a good story. People should play it. That's Deliver Us Mars. It's on the consoles, let's say, in the PC, $30. A game which certainly didn't take a long time is Blanc, Blanc.
Yes.
It is this black and white game. It's kind of adorable. It's got one player plays as a fawn, a baby deer. The other player plays as a baby wolf. I don't know, is that a pup? Let's say.
Yes.
Yeah.
and they are stranded with their respective families or packs having left footprints in the snow. It is mostly, I'm going to say it's pretty much co-op by design. You can play it on one controller, both parts, but we did not. I played it with my kids. My kids mostly played it. It's extremely short.
Okay.
It is not a very long game. They finished it in one sitting, along with them, a couple of hours. Pretty limited on the puzzle basis. It's not bad.
The art style seemed really nice, but I couldn't really get a great sense of like how involved the gameplay was.
It's pretty limited.
Okay.
It also, we had to do a this is not really a knock against it, but we had to do a like reset from checkpoint because the puzzle had bugged. But it's cute. The kids loved it. It's $15, which I hate to put a price to hours on it. I'll just say value wise, it's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what are we talking here? 2 hours?
Geez, I wish I could bring
3?
up my like time played. Yeah, I would say probably not more than like and I was playing with the kid, so like probably not more than 2.5, 3 hours. Like, it's a pretty limited experience. I think it would overstay its welcome if it went too much further than that. But I think visually it's still very striking. If you have kids and they like animals, I think this is a pretty safe bet if you want to. Like, my daughter loved it. It was co-op. You play as animals. Like
hitting all the notes.
It's like totally like, yeah.
I can tell you have had this game running for 2.6 hours total.
Okay, great. Yes, that sounds about right. Yeah. So I don't think we had it running. It's not one of those games I fell asleep with it on either. So
right,
I think that's probably about right. Yeah. It's Blanc, BLANC. It's on the Switch. It's on the PC. Like I said, $15 out now.
That art style does look really cool in motion.
Yeah, it's nice. It's effective. It's not hard. I'm not saying it's for little kids, but I'm saying if that's what you're looking for, this might be a good game. It's not very violent. There's maybe one moment where things feel a little dicey, but it all works out. Which was definitely a moment I was like, "Whoa, they're not okay."
Have I messed up here?
Yeah, like we're okay.
It all works out, unlike another game.
It all works out, unlike let's say Dead Space.
Yeah, things not going so well there on the old Ishimura.
I'm really digging it.
Yeah, it's great. I am kind of bummed on some level that like Theater Rhythm kind of just leapfrog from game to game, man.
Yeah.
I was all about Dead Space and Hi-Fi Rush, and then Theater Rhythm and Metroid came out, and was like, man, Theater Rhythm is all I want to play right now. And then this VR stuff happened. I really want to get back to Dead Space.
So I've been plugging away at it and kind of inching my way forward, trying to decide exactly how I want to play this game, and in the middle of deciding, making progress in the game. And by deciding how I want to play, it's basically maybe you can help me with this, Brad. I'm trying to decide where the game is giving me side quests that I should go do, or am I just going to run across these side quests in the course of doing because they lock out a lot of the terminals where the side quests are, and as I open them up, I think I'm just naturally completing them.
Don't the side quests all say if you can't do them? Don't they all kind of turn red and say you don't have access to this area yet?
Yes.
Right.
So it feels like in the course of that as areas open up, I'm going there for main stuff anyway.
Yeah, I can think of one side quest in particular where it's like, I think it was a dedicated room,
and
but
that's
it's a room
right?
you walk right by.
Right.
It's like the only way you would miss doing the side quest is by not poking your head in every room you have access to, but it's right there off the main path.
So that's happened to me like 2 or 3 times now, where I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm not going to concern myself with like, oh, I got a new side quest, let's make sure I have to go check it out.
Yeah, there was another one that I completed without even realizing I was like on my way to do it.
Yeah.
Like I've had that feeling too, that the quote unquote side quests are maybe a little deceptive, or they're just not as big a deal as you think.
So there's that, and then I'm lumping that together with, I'm deciding in my mind that if that's how we're going to do side quests, that's how I'm going to do security clearance doors as well, where I'm going to assume you're going to backtrack me through this area with the right security clearance, where I'm going to pass by a door now that I didn't have clearance for, that I have now, and inside that door along the way are going to be chests that I couldn't open before, and I'm not going to go out of my way to scour a level as soon as I get a new security clearance.
Have you ever found anything in security room that's like truly unique? Like the best thing I've ever found is nodes. Like I don't know if there are any like unique schematics or anything in security rooms that you would miss otherwise.
It's hard for me to know whether I've definitely found a bunch of schematics, and I haven't kept track if they're in a security room A, B, if they're in a security room that wasn't narratively mainline path, right? Like before I came to do this podcast earlier today, I was playing and I got a schematic for the line gun, and I was like, oh my God, did I miss the line gun? It's one of my favorite guns. Like I definitely didn't miss that, did I? And I played another 10 minutes and I got the line gun, right? So like I think there are multiple objectives sometimes for any given umbrella objective, and you can be like, okay, I'm going to do level 2 on the elevator before I do level 3. And I think it was just one of those things where I just went to the other level, did that thing, and then went to the other level and did it. So I'm about to go to the hydroponics part where the air is getting poisoned or whatever. And it's funny because I have a terrible memory, but I vaguely remember not enjoying that area in Dead Space, and I'm curious if I
had some memories of that part when we were watching Abby play.
Okay, yeah. So I'll say this: I'm having a hell of a time with ammo management. Like I am never have ammo for my plasma cutter. Like,
are you on normal?
I'm on normal.
It's pretty limited.
So
on that, like I've straight up just run out of ammo for multiple guns multiple times.
Do you know if I put the other guns in storage, will the game give me ammo for the gun I have?
I don't know about that.
Can I sell guns?
You can't sell the guns, can you?
I don't know. I would just put them in storage, not sell them. Like I've got about 5 guns now, so I've got more guns than I have quick select slots. So there are certain guns I like, certain guns I don't like, but there are certain guns that I just want to have on me in case. One being the flamethrower. Flamethrower I hardly use except in specific circumstances when there are tiny little critters on the ground. Right? And I'm like, well, I'm glad I have the flamethrower with me. I love the saw blade gun, but the times I use it is mostly when I'm out of ammo for the pulse rifle or the. I mean, I think it's a good gun, but I think I'd rather have the plasma cutter. I've dumped all my points into plasma cutter, like kind of exclusively, except for a couple of upgrades with the suit.
That's kind of what I've been doing also.
And like node wise, it's not like I'm rolling in nodes. Like they are pretty few and far between. So I don't know what chapter I'm up to. I can't remember how long the game is. I don't remember what the node scarcity is like by the end. If you're pretty hurting for nodes,
I don't remember. It's like 12-ish chapters, I want to say.
Okay, so maybe chapter wise, I'm probably 4 or 5. I can't remember what the chapter number is.
Okay, I'm still on 4, I believe.
And so I'm really enjoying it though. I think it's not especially difficult, but I do die randomly. It's very dark, and I have refused to just turn the brightness up, but a couple of times I'll just take a couple of hits before I can even spot the enemy, and I'm mostly just aiming using my flashlight to scan around. But I do find that kind of fun in the atmosphere kind of way of like, oh, that those little babies with the tentacles are just hanging on a ceiling. I got to the part that I hated in the original one too. The thing that's mounted to the wall that spits out turrets, basically. I don't know if you remember that enemy. It's like, it's basically mounted to the wall. It's got like 6 tentacles, and until you kill it, it'll just spit out little, basically turrets that'll kill you. And it's like, man, this thing sucks because it's an ammo dump. I'm just dumping ammo into it, fighting these things. Fought the big guy you got to get behind. I don't know if you got up to that guy. He's the big clunker guy who has ammo or armor, and you got to like get behind him and shoot him in the weak spots. Like I'm remembering stuff as I'm going through, being like, yeah, right. And I'm also trying to manage my ammo, which is hard. I'm having a hard time. And I refuse to buy ammo because
same.
Because every few levels they throw the new suit upgrade at you and it's like 20 grand and it's like I know it's coming. I'm going to save my money. So I don't know.
I think I've got about 50 grand right now where I left off, which might be a little excessive.
That's a lot. Have you bought the suit? You bought the suit upgrade, the first one at least?
Still have not gotten to the second suit upgrade.
Okay. I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to games like this. You know, I hoard stuff. I
fucking restart checkpoint. I could do that and expend 3 fewer shots. I know it.
So I don't even have to restart the checkpoint because usually it's like if I'm out of ammo, I'm dead. Like like if I've made it through, there are points where some checkpointing can be a little gnarly. Sometimes it feels like they'll throw 7 save points at you in a row, and sometimes it feels like I've gone a while in a combat situation. I would like a checkpoint, and sometimes it's a little annoying. It's like, hey, this was a 2.5 minute to 3 minute combat scenario that I don't want to do for the 4th time. Let's say
it's not like brutally difficult, but it does feel a little bit punishing in some ways. Which is like, you probably want that in your survival horror.
Yeah, like a good survival horror game. I haven't had full health maybe since the beginning of the game. Like I
had that thought at one point.
Yeah.
Right around before I left off to play other stuff. Like, like I never have full health except for like when you upgrade something that fills it up for you.
Yeah, and then it's like maybe 3/4 health if I happen to pop a double health canister.
That's like kind of cool. Like that kind of seems like where you want your survival horror to be. Like you never want to be that comfortable.
Yeah.
No.
I've thought about just being like, well, also because each medkit takes up an inventory spot, so it's like I'm not going to roll around. I got to get these ruby semiconductors and bring them back to sell them. So I'm not going to eat up a spot with a whatchamacallit, a health kit. I like it a lot. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try and finish it up. I know there's a boss coming up and somewhere I thought I was up to it, but it wasn't. I don't know if they've reworked some of that stuff, but there's a boss where I clearly remember from both Abby playing and my time with it. And I don't think it's an end boss. So we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. I think, gosh, I'm not going to spoil the boss stuff, but I'll say this. I remember in Dead Space shooting asteroids from a turret gun.
Yeah, that part is infamous.
Is that did they change that?
Infamously, like the worst part of the game. I believe they did rework it somehow.
Because I got to it shooting asteroids, and it was nothing like shooting asteroids from a turret.
I mean, if you're going to remake any part of that game, it might as well be that, right?
Okay.
That's right where I am. I left off like right before the part where you do that.
Okay, let me know if you remember better than I, if this part you're getting up to was in the original game, because I had no memory of it, and I was like, did they change the turret sequence to this?
I would be shocked if they didn't do something to make it better, because people hate that part.
This was fine. The new thing they had was fine.
That's good to hear.
I'm hearing this part was fine.
All right. We've got about a month to finish this before the Resident Evil 4 remake comes out.
The Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, Resident 4 remake.
I cannot allow myself to not finish this before the next big one of these comes out. That thing just got announced to have VR support, actually.
Resident Evil 4 remake?
The RE4 remake is going to have VR support, but not at launch.
Huh.
Sadly. It'll come in an update, but it will have it.
Does that mean is it coming for the PlayStation 4 as well?
You mean the remake? No.
Yeah. Okay, it's PS5 only.
I will triple check.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
I wonder if things don't get PlayStation VR support.
Oh no, it is getting a PS4 version.
Does it get PSVR support or just
PSVR
2?
Highly doubt it.
Man, what a weird thing.
Let's see. PSVR 2 is the only VR support.
Okay.
So far.
Interesting.
So no PC VR support. I mean, they did the same thing with RE7.
Okay.
They never did put that out for PC headsets.
All right. Now we get into the part where the unbelievable becomes believable. We suss out the truth from the lies. Alex Navarro, you say you have finished a freelancer campaign.
Okay, come on now. I posted video evidence of it up on my Twitter. Like,
you could have posted anything. You could have. That could be anybody's
But I didn't.
username.
I posted that.
You could, Deck, I've seen deep fakes. I saw Biden playing Overwatch with Donald Trump. You could make anything these days.
No, that really happened. That was real.
Congratulations on finishing your first freelancer campaign.
Thank you. Yes, over the weekend, I inexplicably managed to power my way through a full campaign. Guess what? That mode doesn't end when you do that. It's just, hey, now you can go back and do it again.
Did you get anything fun?
I want to say I got a pretty good reward gun, like one of the top shelf ones. It was a pistol, but it was like one of the top shelf silenced pistols.
Okay, so you're gonna prestige and do it again?
Well, I'm only level 30, man. So like, I got a lot of work ahead of me as far as that stuff goes.
Okay, let me ask you this: did it track in a way that you would know if you're still doing consecutive campaign runs? Like, did you bomb out?
I did not. I'm just trying to think. Like, okay. So wait. I'm sorry. I don't think I understand what you're asking me.
So like, you finish the campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you on like continuing your same run, or does it basically just restart again from the first thing?
It just starts you back over from the first tier.
Okay, so it's not like you're not like,
and like Diana very cheekily is just like, great work, 47. You've vanquished the syndicate, but there are more criminals out there in the world.
So it's not like you are like, you keep a run going indefinitely. You kind of start over.
No, they don't keep adding like more and more levels to the same run. It is once you have finished that 4th tier showdown, the thing resets.
Got it. Yeah. That's my question. All
and
right,
again, I'm only level 30 now, so I still have 70 levels to go until my murder house is exactly the way I want it.
Well, now you got to focus on the side tasks and all the, and now you can do hardcore mode, right?
I won't.
What is hardcore mode again?
Hardcore mode, I looked at it like early on, and I remember saying absolutely not. I think it just ups the difficulty on everything. Like any little thing can set off like an assassin or a lookout in the showdowns.
I wonder if it's also any failure ends your run, not just showdowns.
I think it might be
something.
So not only does it make it more difficult, I'm pretty sure you have to beat the optional objective for the mission to count. I think that's part of hardcore mode. I could be wrong on that, but when I looked it up, I was like, that's cool, and that's also devilish.
But does it have to be every objective?
Oh, I think it's the one you take. I think it's the optional one you take.
Okay, the prestige objective. Because occasionally those screw you, where it's like, hey, blow up a safe or something, and there's no safe in that level.
Yeah. I am not 100% sure, but I thought that was part of hardcore.
Yeah, that's mean.
It's cool.
No, it's mean. It's not cool. It's extremely mean.
So congratulations. You gonna keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be pushing forward at the same rate that I was before. I just wanted to get one done, and now that I have, I'm like, okay, I will continue to come back to this because so far this is my favorite thing I've played this year.
I think for me, like in my mind, it is get through a campaign that'll be basically my version of finishing the game, but then I just want to fill out the rack.
Oh yeah.
So
the rack is really the thing for me right now.
You bought the DLC, the cosmetic stuff?
Yeah, look.
Listen. It was
I don't have self-control, okay?
Yeah. Very cool. I'm sure we will hear more Hitman freelancer mode shenanigans in the near future. We are continuing our runs, streaming. So far, it has been on Monday, our freelancer mode runs, and maybe we will see. Maybe we'll stream one. It doesn't happen unless you stream it. See if we can make one happen.
It is so wild to me that game is 7 years old. The initial release of that thing was 7 years ago.
It's classic.
And we're still playing this much of it.
Damn right we are.
So there is the PlayStation VR mode for this game.
Yeah.
No announcement about VR2, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was cool. I don't know if I would play it that way often necessarily.
Sure. Yeah.
It was an interesting change of pace.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it. We talked about PlayStation VR 2. We talked about Like a Dragon Ishin, Deliver Us Mars, Blanc, Dead Space, and Hitman's Freelancer Mode. Those are the games we are covering for this week. Plenty of games coming out, though. We'll have more, I'm sure, next week. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about the news. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. And it's time to talk about the news. And what would the news be these days without Microsoft, Activision, Nintendo, Sony? Everybody's in the mix. Brad Shoemaker.
Ain't the news without a little M&A.
That's right. Got my M&A right here. You know what I'm saying?
Or a lot of it.
When I was a youngin', when I had my first job out of college, I tried a little fake it till you make it. When I was making my starting salary of $25,000 or whatever it was, I said, I'm going to go buy some as nice a clothes I can from the Marshalls. I'm going to go to the office in a pants and a shirt, and I'm going to make everybody believe that I deserve this thing, deserve more money. Brad, what's Microsoft doing?
Microsoft went to the Marshalls. No.
Yeah.
Man, it's just a full court press this week from Microsoft on the making moves to say, hey, it's totally fine if we take ownership of Activision, right? It's not anti-competitive at all. Look at these deals.
Look at these deals.
Can you believe these deals we are making with such as Nintendo? They signed a contract. Microsoft and Nintendo have, okay, I'm quoting, have now negotiated and signed a binding 10-year legal agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo players the same day as Xbox with full feature and content parity so they can experience Call of Duty just as Xbox and PlayStation gamers enjoy Call of Duty. You know, I don't think it's going to be just as.
Yeah.
I'm going to say,
Switch, yeah.
If you're fitting modern Call of Duty onto the Switch, there might be some compromises there.
Like, have you seen? I don't even know if the Warzone menus would fit on the Switch at this point.
Unless they're talking streaming.
Oh yeah, that's
entirely possible. But
that is how those games have been appearing on those platforms, right?
Well, they have not been putting them all out on Switch, I don't believe.
Some of them they have, though.
Maybe. I don't
think the last couple, maybe, but I feel like there was a period where they were definitely doing the streaming thing on there.
I tried to find what the last Call of Duty release was on a Nintendo platform and couldn't find the answer that easily, because all the search results are now dominated by this news.
Right.
But the tweet, I think it was in the tweet, not the statement. Man, information is disseminated so weirdly.
Find your source.
Like there will be a press release, but also like this is a tweet from Microsoft President Brad Smith with an image attached to it where most of the announcement is in this JPEG, except some of the relevant information is in his tweet, not in the JPEG. This is just part of our commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms. Like, I'm sure that's just a broad statement that they're able to point at to regulatory bodies and say, hey, we're trying to do all our stuff with everybody if they just want to play ball. But it also, like, it does remind one of the rumors 4 years ago. Was that like 2018, 2019? The rumors were hot and heavy for a minute that Game Pass streaming was coming to Switch.
Yep.
Like to the point that Microsoft was even kind of gesturing at that possibility. And then nothing ever happened with it. But like it was all but assumed for a few months there that like, oh man, you're just going to be able to stream Xbox games straight to a Switch soon.
You log into your Xbox Live account on a Switch.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any like renewed possibility of something like that happening, which would be cool. But like anyway, this like again the JPEG is about Call of Duty, but the tweet has a little bit more broad language that seems like it could imply further Xbox games on Nintendo or other platforms, maybe at some point.
By the way, no one yell at me. There actually has not been a Call of Duty on Switch, as far as I can tell.
That's what I thought.
Other big AAA games have gone the streaming route, but that one they have not done.
Yeah, I don't know if they would stream it, or it's a very competitive, latency-dependent game, so maybe they would want it to run locally. But like whatever level of investment they had to make it work on that platform is like peanuts to Microsoft if it gets
this thing pushed through
the FTC and whoever off their back.
It's I love you're gonna get to this in a second here, but I love this just saying like we'll bring Call of Duty onto the Switch. Like they own it, like it's already theirs. Like we're making deals, man.
We can make these promises.
You want Call of Duty? You want Call of Duty? Sure, let's talk. Let's sit down.
We would love to give you all Call of Duty.
If we had Call of Duty,
G4. Oh no. Oh man. GeForce Now.
Yep.
They have also announced an agreement with Nvidia that we need better naming for Xbox branded games that run on PC. Like, how do you talk about this? They're just PC games, but they're Xbox games, kind of, but not really. But you get them through Game Pass, so they're kind of Xbox games, but they're just PC games. Like, anyway. Talking about this is a little confusing. It's PC games published by Microsoft. Like, PC games that are Microsoft published titles, even though those are Xbox branded in some cases. Those are all going to be playable on GeForce Now with this agreement with Nvidia that they have struck. And that will include, they say, Activision Blizzard titles, including Call of Duty, at such time as this deal goes through.
And I think there's some language that's like, and we're going to do parity with release as much as we can.
Yeah, they definitely said that for Nintendo. They may have also said it for the GeForce Now stuff. They did say... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They say day and date, or as close to day and date as we can.
Okay, yes, right, yes. They did also specify it doesn't matter where you buy these Microsoft PC games, they will still work on GeForce Now, Windows Store, Steam, Epic Store. So they're kind of going to the mat here, saying, hey, Nintendo was fine with it. Nvidia was fine with it.
Oh my gosh, you have to read Nvidia's statement about this, because it was like the biggest $100 in the apple pie thing. The one, where the hell is it? The one where they're like, we're good now. We're good. No, we support this. We're
to be fair, they had voice complaint. These are entities that had straight up, certainly not as vehemently as Sony, but still were like, hey, we're not so sure about this. And then now they're very sure.
Oh, I mean, Sony has made this their primary cause at this point.
Yeah, and
I found it. Can I read it? It's the partners. This is from Nvidia. The partnership delivers increased choice to gamers and resolves Nvidia's concerns with Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Nvidia, therefore, is offering its full support for regulatory approval of the acquisition. So, we're good now.
Yep. Hey, we got what we wanted.
We got what we wanted. We're good.
Wipe your hands. We're done.
The terms were probably fairly favorable to us.
It's so
we're good.
Oh man.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this does much of anything. Sony seems pretty dug in on this.
So Sony had that deal that was like current terms plus 3 years that they hated, right? That was the one they didn't like, that Microsoft said, we'll give you, I think they said, I can't remember if this is exactly it. Microsoft said it was 10 years. Sony was saying it was the current deal plus 3. Which they said was like, they don't want it. So they were like, it's so offensive. It's like a slap in the face. And Microsoft was like, this is beyond industry standard, whatever.
Inadequate on many levels is a phrase Jim Ryan has used.
And also how I am often described by people.
I can't remember if it's exactly like current deal plus 3 or if it was an offer of 10 years as well. But either way, Sony's like, nah. Like it's
oh yeah, there's no convincing them at this point. Like there would have to be a lot given to them at this point for them to ever stop stumping for this deal stopping, and I just don't think they're ever going to give them enough to make that happen.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft would ever go as far as, no deal is in perpetuity. I don't know that you even really could sign a deal saying, hey, you can have this forever. I don't think that's legally.
Not that would be fully legally binding, no.
Yeah,
but I think Sony still, I think to me, it sounds like Sony's not, they're using this as a good reason, as a leverage point. I don't know if they're fully invested in this Call of Duty topic in particular. I don't know if they're
care. I do believe they care.
They absolutely care, and they absolutely want Call of Duty on their platform. on the same day it launches on other platforms. Absolutely. But
are you saying, are they using this particular issue as a cudgel?
It's a little like,
yes.
Will somebody please think of the gamers? You know, like, I mean, this is a big market consolidation. That's the bigger thing. Like,
yes,
you know,
and that's a valid point.
That's
which
a
has
totally
been brought up
valid
many
point.
times over the course of this.
Yeah.
Well, not just that. I mean, Sony is just not as diversified a business as any of these other companies. You know, like all their eggs are basically in the PlayStation basket.
Yeah,
I mean, Nintendo is kind of in a similar boat, but also Nintendo is like its own industry. Basically, Nintendo is kind of magical in its ability to weather, you know, competitive concerns. Of other companies, but yeah, like, you know, this is like still the most popular game out there, and Sony's had the exclusive, or, you know, they've had the kind of first class position on Call of Duty since like what, basically when the PS4 launched, I think, is when they started getting all the DLC first and all that stuff.
Do they still?
I am not an authority. I feel like that stuff has maybe flattened a little bit more.
Okay.
I don't think it's the big feather in their cap that it used to be of like, hey, we get all the map packs first. I think that probably a lot of that is driven by, I think, like Activision has changed how they do DLC in general, right? So, and
like the live service stuff probably makes it even more different with battle passes and, you know, unlocks and stores and buying stuff.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, Sony is still much more reliant on big hits to make money than Microsoft, where they've got the Game Pass revenue now, and like also they're part of a much bigger company, and blah blah blah.
And Microsoft has dumped a ton of capital into studios. Like their first party offering is huge, or could be potentially huge. Yeah.
Certainly,
right. Yeah, right.
Certainly capacity for a lot of games there.
Right. Yes. Brad, what about this other part of this story where Microsoft is then going out there being like, and we're the little guy.
Yeah, it's that continues. I think we've talked about this before.
Hey, I'm just a little guy. I'm the birthday company. Hey, don't mess with me.
Again, this Brad Smith guy is kind of the pitch man for this whole thing. He's kind of the one out there making most of these announcements. This is from a press conference on the subject. Basically talking about the split in market share between Sony and Microsoft. And yeah, boy, they can't wait to tell you how much smaller their share of the console market is than Sony's in every market except the one where they probably are fairly close to each other.
Right. So they leave out the US market, but
think about the market. This is quoting. Think about the market in Europe. It is a market where Sony has an 80% share. And this is, again, just between them and Microsoft. Like, this is not Nintendo or PC. So that's 80 out of 100. It's a market where Sony has an 80% share. Globally, it is about 70-30. In Japan, it is 96-4, which, I mean, that's zero surprise, but still, just seeing the numbers is so stark.
It is fascinating seeing that number.
But then, yes, he conveniently did not comment on the share in the United States, where, like, I have always assumed Sony is still comfortably ahead, or at least ahead. Like, I don't think so. Microsoft has trailed Sony since basically the launch of the PS4, if not before.
Yeah.
But they are.
And I think
closer.
they made up some ground at the beginning, but that was mostly just because neither of them were able to get a lot of consoles out in the beginning.
Yeah, but I think they are closer here, but Sony is still in the lead as far as I know.
I mean, he even says, Brad Smith even say, he has another quote that says, "These numbers have been remarkably steady for 2 decades. Even last year, when there were issues with Sony's supply chain, they came back strong."
Look at how great our competition has been doing.
It's so funny because it was on the heels of, was it last week we were talking about, like, Game Pass is a flop. Like, the numbers show if you're on Game Pass, you're going to lose money.
We're an abject failure. Why are you even buying our shit? We're garbage.
Why are you paying attention to us? Yeah. It's just, there's some theater going on here.
This 80-20 pie chart is pretty hilarious because it's like quite literally a blue Pac-Man.
Yep.
It's that 20% carve out just gives you the Pac-Man shape, except it's blue.
Economic area market share as of European economic area market share is the name of that chart.
Yeah, some real zone of influence, demilitarized zone kind of sound to that. Phrasing.
Man, you got to cross the European economic area.
Yeah.
Ooh, nobody makes it through there.
No, man.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just there's a lot of outreach or not outreach, but I mean a lot of deal making and announcements thereof going on with their campaign to get this thing through.
They're like, yeah, a lot of regulatory body work going on. It's I don't know, this whole thing with the Call of Duty wars or whatever this whole thing is like, feels like it is boiling down to, seems like let's say a proxy war for this merger, right? Like, you know.
Well, you know, I guess it probably is, as a single product, it is the crown jewel, as much as they've been like, no, King is the one we really want, like, Call of Duty, whatever, but like, yeah, it's, I mean.
Like, is it the one that just everybody, like, people who play video games know Call of Duty? If Sony can get out there and say, if this happens, you won't be able to play Call of Duty.
Well, that's the thing. That's the headline.
Yeah.
Is that, like, if you were trying to get attention-grabbing headline saying we want King does not make a lot of headway unless you are an investor that knows a lot about the mobile market and understands the importance of it. If you just want to get, like, mainstream media to pay attention to the fact that you are desperate for this deal to not go through, say, we don't get Call of Duty is absolutely the thing you say.
Yeah, like you won't be able to play Call of Duty when it launches unless you have a Microsoft system. Think about that. Which, again, I'm not saying I support this merger. I'm just saying that it feels... The big thing is this gigantic market consolidation where you now have one company in charge of thousands of more employees and also at the whim of the failure or success of Microsoft. So
I don't support this merger, but at the same time, I don't support Sony's arguments at all about why it shouldn't happen. There are very good, very like reasonable anti-monopoly reasons you should be looking at this whole deal and why it maybe should not come together. But like Sony's entire thing just radiates naked self-interest in a way that I feel like
desperation.
Desperation. And it's like, I think this is just indicative of, to some degree, the Jim Ryan era of Sony, which is that it's cranky and it's pissy and it just kind of throws fits when it doesn't like something, but it doesn't really endear itself in any way. It doesn't make you think that Sony is the underdog. It just makes you think a slightly smaller giant corporation is pissed.
Let me plug my PlayStation VR2 into my Xbox.
Oh,
yeah.
Jim Ryan is going to come to your house. He's going to beat you with a truncheon.
Gonna have to put a USB-C port on that thing.
Don't worry, they'll sell me one that plugs in for $400. It'll come. It'll
the
come with an
adapter will be $400.
The adapter will be $400. It'll come with an extra 2 gigs of hard drive space too. So don't worry. Yeah, man. Yeah, this stuff. It's theatrical. It is. But there's real consequences for this stuff, so we'll see how this all goes. We say this every time because we report on this every week, but it's June is the deadline, right?
The end of June is when they had originally targeted to have this deal done by. I didn't realize that the next scheduled U.S. government hearing isn't until like August, though. So
oh my gosh,
I don't.
That's not happening then.
How that? Yeah.
I mean, unless they're able to clear some legal hurdles that will keep all that from happening, I just don't know that I see that happening.
The stuff I keep reading is the quote-unquote analysts still think it's going to push through. So
I still think it's going to push through.
Yeah.
And I'm not even an analyst. I'm just a dumbass.
I mean, if Microsoft keeps tweeting, they're just going to be like, or else we're going to bring God of War to Switch as well. 10-year deal.
I just actually found the FTC case summary for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the matter of Microsoft Corporation, a corporation, and Activision Blizzard Incorporated, a corporation.
A corporation, not the corporation.
An evidentiary hearing is scheduled for August 2nd. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that I certainly know, like trade lawyer. I guess that means the deal can't close. I don't know.
On the
schedule they wanted.
I imagine Congress. My cynical view of Congress at this point is they do the same thing Nvidia did, where they're stuffing Game Pass 1-year subscription things into their pocket, and they go, "We, the Congress, feel that this deal is now good to go through. They've cleared my conscience. We're good."
Yeah, I could see it.
You're telling me I get Halo for free? Wow!
Look under your seat. Look under your congressional seat.
A warthog for everybody.
Yes.
I love Flight Simulator.
A warthog in every garage.
All right. Suddenly, Microsoft is opening offices in these weird, in Ohio, in Nebraska. Weird. They're just these weird random states. Suddenly,
Microsoft is going to build this dam in my district.
It looks like a giant X.
Weird.
A Series X. It's just a Series X. They just shoved a giant Series X in front of a waterfall. All right. There is some other news here. Alex, you like Firaxis games. You've been known to play a Firaxis game here and there.
I've been known to, yes. That is my reputation.
What's going on over at Firaxis?
I'm not completely certain, and nobody seems completely certain exactly what's happened here, though the one thing it seems to take away is that no one has any real animosity that they're willing to publicly display. But Jake Solomon, who has been at Firaxis for something like 20 years, he was the director on the most recent XCOM games, has left Firaxis and 2K for undetermined pastures, presumably to go start up something else or work somewhere else. But the line here seems to be that he left and that there is, there's still mutual respect and all is good between them. So I see no reason to doubt that at this time. That said, Solomon was most recently working on Midnight Suns, and that game did ultimately, I think, disappoint in terms of initial sales. Though, it got a pretty good critical rating overall.
Yeah, they've been pretty upfront about it not performing.
I think it went on sale, too.
Within a month, right? Yeah, which is never a great sign. It came out at a weird time. I feel like it did not hit big in the way that other Marvel games have also maybe not hit big recently, at least the ones not named Spider-Man. And I don't know, I think that thing needed a real serious, groundswell of enthusiasm to maybe carry it forward, and it just never quite got that.
I think I just got this from the story, but their DLC is coming out, their Redemption, I think it's called, with Venom. It's coming out tomorrow. So maybe this, maybe this stuff does align in a way that the projects are wrapping up. And
there's a as far as I know, there's a reasonably long DLC roadmap for that game, and they have been putting out new characters semi-regularly. I think Deadpool just came out not that long ago. Okay. So, they are supporting it, and I think that DLC roadmap will probably be seen through, so long as somebody's buying that game. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the story, I think Solomon was asked about XCOM stuff, and he was like, I was literally working on costumes for Midnight Suns prior to my exit. I don't know what's going on with XCOM at this point. I have no answers for you.
But I think he went on to say, as long as there is some kind of Firaxis, there will be some kind of XCOM cooking somewhere.
Though I guess the next thing they're cooking is the next Civ, and I know the Civ team and I think the XCOM teams are somewhat different from one another. But
I was going to ask, he never worked on Civ. Well, he may have at some point, but he very much identified with XCOM, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, his primary duties involve the recent XCOM games. It's possible he worked on somewhere in the Civ team. I mean, 20 years is a long time, and they've put out several Civ games in that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's. We should say, after 20 years, maybe not surprising if he just wants to do something else after shipping one last game. But definitely a lot of people looked at this and right after the disappointing earnings for Midnight Suns and went, But
he does thank Sid, so I don't know I assume that's Sid Meier's.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I'm grateful to Sid first and foremost for teaching me. If I'm ever half as good as him, I'll be twice as good as I am now.
Here's the thing. I've never met Sid Meier. I don't know much about the guy personally, but the few people I have ever talked to that have either worked with him or known him have generally had very kind things to say about him.
Yeah, I could be... This is third hand, but he's always sounded like the kind of guy who still wants to be just in there writing code.
Yeah.
And balancing strategy shit. He doesn't want to be a face. He just wants to make it a damn game and keep his hands on it.
Sid.
But Jake Solomon, I think, is the closest to a face of Firaxis, right? That there's been outside of Sid Meier.
Yeah.
Who we don't really see in public a lot anymore.
Yeah, I forget who the current Civ director is, but they've been out there also when those games have been coming out. But usually it is just who is the lead on one of these two projects.
I wish Jake the best. I mean,
yeah.
I love
excited
XCOM.
to see what he does next.
The XCOM games are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
And Firaxis people have a pretty decent track record of doing interesting things when they leave.
I want to
like
say
Soren Johnson and stuff. Like, you know,
right.
Yeah.
there was that XCOM like a couple of years ago that didn't really take off. Do you remember that? I think we saw it at E3. It was shown at the Microsoft booth. I want to say that was also maybe some former Firaxis people.
XCOM like?
Yeah, it was a tactical turn-based shooter where you had vehicles and stuff like that, and they were hyping it up a bit, but it was a little buggy. It didn't.
Yeah.
Really, I wish I could remember the name of it, but
There've been a couple of
no
XCOM likes in recent years, and I feel like they all kind of suffered from similar problems.
Gears Tactics, anybody?
Gears Tactics was all right.
Gears Tactics was kind of cool.
Yeah. People who are listening to this will know the one I'm thinking. Phoenix something Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah, something Phoenix.
Yes.
Simon Phoenix.
Simon Phoenix. Gosh, Phoenix popped into my head.
No Google. I'm not looking for Phoenix strategy investments.
But what if you were?
Phoenix Point?
Phoenix
Point.
Right.
Yes, that was a game.
Okay, Phoenix
right.
Point, the original XCOM team.
I remember that.
Okay.
That's right. Yes, that came out right before the pandemic started.
That might have been like
no.
last
Actually, may have been
E3?
during.
Oh,
Yes.
did it 1.0 during the pandemic? I thought it came out before that.
It might have been early access, and then Anyway, yes.
So yeah, from everything that is being portrayed, everything seems like it is just maybe Jake Salmon moving on. Would things have been any different if Midnight Sun did gangbusters? Who can tell?
I am not in any position to tell you one way or the other.
Also, I'll just say this. Not knowing anything about anything, sometimes financial success is different than development stress and stuff like that. You know, maybe Midnight Suns took a lot out of him. It was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Here.
Mm-hmm.
People, humans, still making games. Speaking of E3, Brad, is Ubisoft going to be at E3?
I don't know. I don't know.
What is going on?
I just put this in here because I laughed at it when I read it. I guess Yves Guillemot, head of Ubisoft, during an earnings call this past week, said the line, "If E3 happens, we will be there and we will have a lot of things to show."
Thanks. Thanks, Eve. Very committal. Appreciate it.
It's kind of funny for two reasons, because I'm like, yeah, I bet you'll have a lot of things to show. You definitely have not had like enormous amounts of trouble at your company over the last several years on multiple levels that you want to try to paper over and be like, yeah, we got games. But it's the if E3 happens part that's just like, man.
You'd think you would know.
You're probably in like the top 10 of people who should know by now, for sure.
We are officially hedging all the bets here.
Also, it goes back to our narrative that Ubisoft will show up for anything.
Yes, there's a bit of that.
They love to party.
Give them 20 minutes and they will. Everybody get the marching band, the bear. Do we have a Just Dance we could throw it together real quick?
No Ubisoft games for PSVR2 that I know of. They used to be right there first in line on new peripherals and new consols.
I don't know what's
Ubisoft
going on
is having
Ubisoft.
a bit of a time recently with everything.
I don't know. Really, this is notable in the wake of that IGN report.
Yes.
That Nintendo and Sony are straight up skipping the new E3.
And Microsoft, right?
And they've got they'll have a showcase. They'll be in the theater across the street.
But they are officially not part of the ESA branded E3, right?
Right. They're not going to be on the floor, is what they said.
Okay.
And who knows if their showcase will even be a live event or if it'll just be another streamed remote thing.
It's very telling, even with Ubisoft's current struggles, that a company that is generally all on board to be at any goddamn show that will have them is talking about it in these kinds of extremely non-committal terms. Like that is not in character for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was being cheeky. I didn't hear it said. I just read it.
Nobody wants Eve to be cheeky right now. No one is here for that.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. As E3 media registration opens, and I'm like, I mean, it's probably worth just signing up just in case, but also, I don't know about all this.
Be an exhibitor, get an exhibitor badge.
Yes, that was always the superpower. That was the true, man, we're going to go on the floor 2 days before it opens and see what signage we can find.
Keighley's doing the Summer Games Fest stuff like the week before, right?
Not sure if dates are out for all that.
I thought I saw something that was
that's possible. Yeah, June 8th. This says.
That's going to be even weirder.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I believe that is the week before.
So, like, we were just talking about this with somebody, but does anybody know if the judges stuff is happening?
No news about that I'm aware of yet.
How did that work? That was Keighley in conjunction or around E3?
Back in the day, it was like E3, or I believe it was Keighley kind of heading that stuff up.
Okay, but in kind of officially part.
Yeah, it was part of E3.
Okay,
like you were an E3 judge. They were like E3 awards.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the odds of going to E3 are plummeting by the week at this point.
Physically going to E3 or
yes.
Okay. If Keighley is doing basically a giant press conference show and Microsoft and Sony keep up with their own scheduled press conferences, I don't know what E3 week is going to be, because for me, E3 week was really headlined with big press conferences and then behind closed door demos, right?
Yeah.
So
yes,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it seems likely that Microsoft will do their showcase during E3 week, most likely, from the sound of things. But outside of that, I don't know.
Or is your showcase basically, because we just talked about this a second ago, we own Blizzard, or is it like we don't?
I bet somebody there would love to be able to come out and say, "Hey, it's done,"
because this is like the time, right? This is like June of this year.
Right. That's near the end of their initial deadline.
So weird. It's going to be a weird summer.
Yes. Weird game summer. Get ready for it.
Welcome to Weird Game Summer. All right. Well, we'll see if Eve sees his shadow. We'll know if there's an E3. If he crawls back into his weird little hidey hole. Where is he? You know where Eve is?
I don't know. They turned off all the flight trackers on Twitter, so I can't follow him.
Not where is he right now? Like, where is he based? Is he Montreal?
I assume he's based in France.
I think he's in France. Yeah,
he lives in France. Okay.
I think most of like Ubisoft main corporate is in France.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's gonna do it for the news. Thanks everybody for tuning in for the news for us. We have an email address that is podcast@nextlander.com. That's podcast@nextlander.com, but we will hold off on those emails until a later show, but you can send them into podcast@nextlander.com. We'll gather them up and present them back to you, cleaned and ready for commentary. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody for supporting us. I want to thank everybody for going over to patreon.com/nextlander, where you can find a bunch of tiers stuffed with goodies like the Ramblecast, stuffed with goodies like the Watchcast, maybe stuffed a Watchcast full of things like Free Jack. Maybe
is up right now.
Maybe stuffed in the coming week with a goodie like Johnny Mnemonic. Maybe stuffed with, I'm trying to think of how to get the people in there. If you love Free Jack, if you love Johnny Mnemonic, people love Johnny Mnemonic. If you love Virtuosity, if you love Demolition Man, you should go check out the Watchcast. We had, I want to thank Tam for coming through for Demolition Man, and we recorded with Austin Walker for Johnny Mnemonic, which was a lot of fun. Two great guests, two great movies, two great guests, at least two great guests.
They're two entertaining films.
In
their own way.
Yeah. And fun to talk about them as well. You can check all of that out right now. And like I said, Johnny Mnemonic will be going up next week over on the Patreon side of things. Of course, we got Never Been a Better Podcast. We're going to be recording our next episode for, guys, it's March. We're going to be recording our next episode for March pretty soon. Hoping to get Jeff Bakalar and Austin Walker in on that one. More Austin Walker, always a good thing in my book. If you go over to the Patreon, you might see one tier there called the Mysterious Benefactor tier, and they get their names read on this here show. Alex Navarro, would you please read our Mysterious Benefactors for this week?
Absolutely. Our Mysterious Benefactors for this week are RRE, John Richardson, Vornak, Kelly F., James Smith, Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Brad's Midsize Hoodoo Voodoo, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, JM, Jerry Lee, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, John McInnes, Bunny Crimes, Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Razgriz2, Brian Murphy, Trevor and Adrian R., Randy Duax, Andrew Deepkin, Wario, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks to all our Mysterious Benefactors, and thanks to everyone who has supported us over on Patreon, over watching on Twitch, on YouTube, listening to this here podcast, or any of the other fine Nextlander podcasts out there. There are about 800 of them. And if you are interested, you should go check out patreon.com/Nextlander for all the details. We had a lot of fun stuff going on this week. If you missed it on Monday, I mentioned it before at the top of the show when we're talking about the games, but we have our Hitman freelancer runs going on. I'm in the middle. I think I just made it up to the third. I'm up to the third set of Beat the Second Showdown.
Okay.
So we're going to pick that up next Monday. If you want to see the beginning of that run, you can go back. And Brad, you are up to, you're continuing on run too? Or did you bomb out? You bombed out.
Shit.
No, I think you were up to a showdown. It's just going to be alerted now.
Oh, wait, that's right.
Yes,
that was
that's
not
right.
a showdown.
Yes.
That was not a showdown.
Yes.
I did have that encounter on the beach.
I forgot. Yes.
With
your
that
beach
duck,
encounter.
which was... I was very happy to pull that one out, and then I just kind of ate shit on some random nonsense later.
Stuff. It's easy come, easy go with that Hitman freelancer mode. You can check that out. You can see Brad suiting up in the PSVR2, checking out some releases there from Tuesday. This Thursday, we'll have a grab bag, and then we are going to have a patron's choice on Friday. So be on the lookout for a poll where you can vote to see what we get into on Friday. Which happens to be the same day that Kerbal Space Program 2 goes into early access release. So
weird.
That will be on the poll. You can vote for it. I don't know how that game will be in that state, but we can check it all. Check it out together. That's gonna do it. A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Too much fun stuff.
Never too much fun stuff. The other name of our podcast. Never too much fun stuff.
I need to play other fun stuff
Like
that I
Dead
was
Space.
playing.
Yes. I'm minutes away, I feel like, from a PSVR 2 delivery. So I'm hoping to get into some fun stuff pretty soon here.
What do you play first?
Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, okay.
I gotta go make sure No Man's Sky is downloaded. I'll probably have that downloaded in the background.
Dude,
honestly,
the wrist menu is so cool.
that shit is the first thing in a while that has actually got me really itching to maybe grab one of these.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, it's still No Man's Sky. Like,
and I'm okay with that.
The game is what it is. But
I wonder. We didn't mention this. We maybe should have in the PSVR talk, but I'll just mention it now. Wonder when this thing starts showing up on other retailers or what the story is there.
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe for another podcast. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro. Thank you, Brad Shoemaker. We'll be back next week.